You know, in the high-stakes war for the future of electric vehicles, it's not always the best technology that wins. It's really about strategy, it's about rivalry, and it's about knowing how to completely change the rules of the game. So today, we're going to break down how Tesla managed to corner the entire industry.
Okay, let's just dive right into the central mystery here. In 2023, giants like Ford, GM, and Volkswagen, they suddenly just abandoned their own charging tech to adopt the standard of their biggest rival, Tesla. Now, on the surface, it looked like a total surrender, but it was actually a brilliant strategic calculation. We're going to uncover exactly how they got outplayed.
And look, this wasn't some slow, gradual shift over years. No way. This was a rapid capitulation. It was a series of announcements that basically reshaped the entire auto industry in just a matter of weeks. To really get why this happened, we first need to understand what the battlefield looked like before the surrender.
Before this all went down, the electric vehicle market was, well, a pretty fractured landscape. It was defined by this fundamental conflict between two warring factions over something as simple but as crucial as the charging plug.
So the whole fight was about two completely incompatible designs. On one side, you had Tesla's NACS plug. Proprietary, yeah, but also sleek, and backed by what was, let's be honest, the largest and most reliable charging network in the world. And on the other side, you had the CCS plug. This was an open-source standard adopted by this big alliance of legacy automakers who are all hoping to make it the universal norm. This division created a huge problem for consumers, a problem that was the single biggest thing holding back the mass adoption of electric vehicles: range anxiety. And this wasn't just some minor inconvenience. It was this huge psychological wall stopping millions of people from even considering an EV because they were terrified they'd get stranded somewhere on a road trip.
So here's the crucial point. This was never just about plugs. It's what economists call a coordination game. The entire multi-trillion-dollar market for EVs was just stuck in neutral, held back by all this consumer anxiety, until everyone could just agree on a single, unified standard. And for you and me, that meant fewer choices and slower innovation until they got it sorted. So to solve the mystery of the surrender, we have to analyze this whole conflict using the tools of game theory. This is what's going to reveal the cold, hard, strategic logic behind every single company's decision.
First, let's put some numbers on this. Let's just say that successfully coordinating on a single standard is worth 10 points. This represents the huge prize, right? A unified market, an end to range anxiety, and EVs finally taking off for everyone.
But, and there's always a but, there's a cost to coordinating. We're going to assign a cost of 3 points for switching. This represents billions, with a B, of dollars in research, development, and factory retooling a company would have to spend to abandon its own tech and adopt its rivals.
Okay, so this lays out every possible outcome in what's called a payoff matrix. Now, both sides want to land on a diagonal box. That's where they coordinate on the same standard. But here's the problem. Tesla wants that top left box, where everyone adopts its NACS plug. The Alliance? They want the bottom right, where CCS is standard. And this conflict creates a huge risk of landing in that dreaded 0-0 stalemate box, where nobody coordinates, nobody wins, and the market just stalls out.
What the analysis shows are two stable outcomes, known as Nash equilibria, where neither side would really want to change its mind once they're there. But the players are totally deadlocked. Each one prefers a different outcome, and each is just hoping the other side will blink first and pay that 3-point switching cost. This is a classic high-stakes standoff.
This stalemate, it seemed absolutely unbreakable. A multi-billion-dollar battle of wills. So how do you win a game that's basically designed for a draw? Well, you don't just play it better. You change the rules of the game entirely.
So here's the crucial point. This was what's known as a simultaneous game. Both sides had to commit to a plug standard for their next generation of cars without knowing for sure what the other was doing. But then Tesla broke this dynamic with a massive, preemptive investment that changed literally everything.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates a core concept in game theory: the credible commitment. See, Tesla spent billions of dollars building out its supercharger network all across North America. This was a sunk cost. Money spent that was so huge and so irreversible that its promise to stick with its NACS standard was suddenly 100% believable. They weren't just talking anymore, they had locked themselves in.
This move by Tesla completely changed the game from a simultaneous one to a sequential one. The Alliance could now see that Tesla was locked into its NACS standard, and all of a sudden, their choice became incredibly simple. Looking back at our payoff matrix, they could either get a payoff of 7 by switching to NACS or a payoff of 0 by stubbornly sticking with CCS. The only rational choice was to surrender.
So what can we really take away from this fascinating corporate drama? This wasn't just about car plugs. This was an absolute masterclass in modern business strategy, with lessons that apply far, far beyond the auto industry.
The first key lesson is all about winning in platform markets. In industries with what they call network effects, like social media, software, or EVs, the goal isn't just to build a better mousetrap, it's to manage the expectations of your rivals. Success comes from making your platform the inevitable choice, not necessarily even the best one. Secondly, and this is so counterintuitive, while most managers love to say, we're keeping our options open, Tesla won precisely because they gave up their flexibility. By sinking billions into their network, they basically burned their bridges. That massive sunk cost was a signal that forced everyone else to react to them, and not the other way around.
The strategic takeaway here is crystal clear. You win these coordination games by being proactive, by making big commitments that create an accomplished fact on the ground. You shape the game board itself so that your competitors, just by acting in their own rational self-interest, have no choice but to make the exact move that benefits you the most.
And that leaves us with a final provocative thought. This exact same strategic dynamic, this battle to become the standard through credible commitments, is playing out right now in artificial intelligence, in software, and in whatever the next wave of technology is. So the question is, who is building their supercharger network today, and who is about to be forced to surrender?